Hello, my name is Brian Dougherty. I'm a field agricultural engineer with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. And today I'm just going to do a quick video on installing time-lapse cameras in dairy facilities. So if you're curious about why you would want to use a time-lapse camera, you're not sure what they do or what you can use them for, I would encourage you to check out a series of webinars that we did on precision technology, and we do have a full webinar on utilizing time-lapse cameras in dairy facilities. And so if you just go to YouTube and do a web search there for the Iowa State University Dairy Team, you can find all their YouTube videos, and you should be able to find that webinar on using time-lapse cameras. We go into a lot more detail about what you can do with these time-lapse cameras and some of the management decisions that they can help you make. But just to get into the kind of the basics of time-lapse cameras, what they are. So basically they just take a photo at a preset interval, and then they automatically stitch those photos together to create a video. So you can watch this video back and essentially watch, a day's worth of activity, for example, in a matter of 10 to 20 minutes, depending on what your camera settings are. Cost-wise, one of the advantages of these over video system is they are relatively inexpensive, somewhere around $100 up to $400, depending on what options you want to get with these cameras. But in order to get these set up, there's a few important settings that you need to pay attention to. And the first one is the frame rate. And that's just telling that camera how many, frames per second it should play back when you're watching that video. The second important one is the capture interval. And that's telling that camera how often it should take a picture. You also are going to want to pay attention to your lighting settings, especially if you're going to be trying to capture any video at night or in low light settings. You'll want to check your camera and see if there's a setting that you can turn on for that. And then also image quality is important. What I've found putting these cameras in is generally the lower quality image setting is fine. If you get into the high quality images, you can get some very large videos, very large file sizes, and you don't necessarily need that, for just monitoring dairy facilities. So setting up that camera, again, about 10 frames per second playback speed seems to work pretty well. And then your capture interval is really going to depend on what you're trying to do with that camera. So if you want to be able to pick out an individual cow and kind of track her around the barn, see what that cow is doing, somewhere in the 5 to 10 second range is probably what you're going to want for a capture interval. If you go longer than that, you start to lose a lot of detail. If you go too short, again, you're going to make a longer video. It's going to take longer to watch that back and see what's going on, and you may have more detail than you actually need. If you just want to monitor your feed bunks, for example, and see, when are the cows running out of feed? Is it being pushed up often enough? Things like that. 15 up to even 60-second interval can be just fine for those type of applications. You're going to want to have a fairly large memory card. So these cameras, most of them work by just having a USB memory card. At least 16 gig is what I would recommend. And again, the higher your image quality and the shorter your capture interval, you're going to end up with a very large file. It could exceed the capacity of that memory card. Just a quick example here, for example, if you've got a frame rate of 10, a capture interval of 5 seconds, it'll take you about a half hour to watch through a 24-hour recording. Whereas you bump your capture interval to 15 seconds, now you're down to 10 minutes. So there's a trade-off there between how long that video is going to be and what your capture interval is. But there is some software I'll talk about in a minute that can help speed that up a bit. So when it comes to installing the camera, generally the higher the better. You're definitely going to want some sort of a weatherproof cover, or you're going to want to buy a camera that has that built in. I'm going to show you an example of one of those here in a minute. The one you see here in these images, that's a Brno TLC 200 model. So that's a camera with a separate weatherproof enclosure around it. And so there's different ways you can mount these. The photo on the right there, you can see I had to bungee cord it to a post to get the view that I needed. There's various different wall mounts and tripods and things that you can also use. You want to kind of avoid mounting these near, very dusty areas, or large fans can create some vibration and distort your image. So you want to avoid that. And you might just need to play around a little bit and get creative mount the camera, get a few minutes of footage and check it to make sure you're actually capturing what it is you want to capture before you let it run. The other really important thing to keep in mind is if you want to really get the best use out of this video, you need to set the correct date and time and turn on your timestamp feature. Because, when you're watching this video, you're going to want to know what time of day that these activities are happening. And if you don't have your clock set correctly in the timestamp feature, you're not going to be able to do that. Battery wise, again, the TLC 200 shown here has small AA batteries in it. If you're going to go longer than a week or so with that type of a camera, I'd recommend, just putting new batteries in to start. That particular model does come with a wall plug-in, so if you happen to be close to a plug-in, you can plug those cameras in. When it comes to watching that footage back, that can be a little tricky sometimes, depending on how fast your computer is. If you're having trouble getting it to play from your memory chip or external storage, you'll probably want to save that on your hard drive. And then there's various different settings that you can play around with to speed up or slow down the video. Depending on what kind of computer you have, you'll have to kind of do some investigation into that. But what I recommend and what I do, at least for the Breno cameras that we have, is they actually provide free software. Works much better than just trying to watch it with your regular video player on your laptop. You can zoom in, you can speed it up, slow it down, reverse it. Lots of different things you can do with that software. So if you do purchase a camera, that's something I'd recommend checking into, is what kind of software do they provide, or do they provide software that comes with that camera? So now I'm going to quickly switch over here and I'm just going to show you another camera we have. So here's another Breno model. This is the MAC 200. And this has several features that are much nicer than the TLC 200 that we were using previously. So this has a built-in case, completely enclosed, large batteries that you can put in the back here. So it has size D batteries, so they'll hold up much longer than old camera style. And again, completely enclosed. So the first thing with this one that's really nice is the video screens on the front of the camera. So when you're mounting these in the barn, you're going to put the camera up and the screen is going to show you whatever's going to show up in the video. That's what you're going to see on your screen. And so when you're mounting it, it's nice to have the screen facing forward so you can see what's actually going to be captured in the camera view. So very easy to set these up. You can see here, I've got this one set to take a picture every 10 seconds. It's got the date and time down here. You can scroll through your menu settings, various different things in here. You can set the date and time. You can turn your nighttime on and off. You can set your image quality. So various things there. So all you really need to do to set this camera up is you'll hit the OK button. It says ready there, and you just press and hold that. And now you can see that camera's recording. So when it's recording, that screen will actually turn off so it doesn't kill the battery. But it's basically, it's on right now. It's going to take a picture every 10 seconds. And then you put it in for a day or a week, however long you want. And when you're ready to take that camera back down, you just press and hold your OK button there again. Let go of that. Now it says processing, and your video is processed and ready to go. So a little hard to see here, but your SD card just mounts into a little slot right on the side here. So that's pretty handy. And then it's got this nice cover, so everything's sealed up. On the back here, it's got some mounting holes, so you can strap this thing down. You can mount it to a post, whatever you need to do. So just a quick run through of how these cameras work and what you can do with them. My contact information, it's on the first slide there. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.